What's up everyone? This video is one that has been requested more times than I can count. We are combining my reversal pattern indicator from this video, my break-even example from this video, and also an ATR trail stop from this video. All the links are going to be down below. And on top of that, we're also adding two different targets. This strategy is going to be geared towards a NinZaRenko chart. Now, what we're building today can be done much easier using my semi-auto reversal predator strategy. This is a highly customizable tool that you can configure to fit your needs. But if you like doing things the hard way and you want to create something yourself on Builder,
I don't want peace. I want problems, always!
Our options are a bit more limited, but this should at least help some of you with your own strategies. And now, just a quick disclaimer, this is just an example. It is not profitable. I do not recommend running this on its own. Just use this as an example for your own strategy. But guys, it's going to be a pretty long video with a ton of information, so let's just jump into it. Alright guys, before we get started on Strategy Builder and we start adding a bunch of things, we want to create some sort of a plan, or else it's going to get very confusing very quickly. So for this example, I'm going to be working with a NinZaRenko chart. I have it set up at 16 and 2. No particular reason, just this is what I had open. You guys can work with whatever you want. What I'm going to be doing in this example, I'm going to be looking for a reversal candle, which is when it goes from red to green or from green to red. Once we get a reversal candle, I'm also going to be looking for one confirmation candle, and that's just going to be an extra added security to help us ensure we're going to be trending in that same direction. So once we get our confirmation candle, I just want to enter a market order once this candle closes. And now once we enter the trade, I want to set my stop at the bottom of that pivot. This is going to give me the most amount of wiggle room to prevent getting stopped out too early. Now my targets are going to be based on ticks, but I'm going to make these customizable so the user can just go into the parameters and change them to whatever they want. Next up for this strategy, I also want to set a break-even stop. Once I reach a certain amount of ticks, then I want to move my stop up to that break-even point. This way I can prevent a loss if the price was to come back and go in the opposite direction. And for this example, I'm also going to be adding an ATR trailing stop, and this is going to help us maximize our profit. And like I mentioned earlier with the targets, we are also working with two separate orders in the same direction. This is going to help us take a quick profit and also maximize our trade by having a runner. Okay, now that we have some sort of an idea of what we're doing, now we can head over to our strategy builder and put all of this together. So if you don't know how to open up strategy builder, you go to your control panel, new, and select strategy builder. Then this window will come up, and we can just go to a new strategy. You can name this whatever you want. I'm going to say NinZaRenko strategy. And select next. For our calculate method, I'm going to select on price change. This means it's going to calculate all your values anytime there's any sort of price change. And this is going to make sure when we set our stop and our break even and our trail stop, anytime there's a price change, it's always going to keep moving up. So once we have that, select next. Additional data, we don't need that. Let's hit next. Now we have our inputs and variables. These are going to be very important because these are going to allow the user to customize from the parameters. And they're also going to store our values so we can use them at a later time. And I'll show you exactly what this means as we're going through the strategy. For now, all that we need to know is the inputs are what the user can customize. So for example, your position size, your final profit target, where your break even, where your trail stop gets set. Your variables are going to be values that are hidden, but we need to reference later. So for example, when we're getting the low of a certain area, it's going to constantly change as the chart progresses. So we need something that's going to store that value. Again, this will make sense a little bit later on. So we're going to start with our inputs. And the first one is going to be position size 1. We're going to leave this as an integer, so a whole number. We're going to leave that at 1. And because we're working with 2 orders, we want to do the same thing, but position size 2. And we'll leave that at 1 as well. Next up, we're going to set our final profit targets for both orders. So I'm going to say target 1 long. This I'm also leaving as an integer. Our default is going to be set at 40. Now I'm going to do target long 2 integer, and we'll set this at 80. We're going to have to set a negative profit target when we're going short, and we're going to do that here. So target 1 short. Make sure you delete the minimum, and our default is going to be negative 40. And we do the same thing for our second target, negative 80, and delete the minimum. Now we want to define when our break even is going to be set. So when the price reaches a certain amount of ticks, then it's going to move our stop up to that break even. So go to add. So we're doing break even target, and we can set this at 20 ticks. And now we have to do the negative value for the shorts as well. So break even target short, and default negative 20. And remember to delete the minimum value. And now the same thing for our trail targets. And now, because it is the most requested trail type method, I'm going to be using the ATR trail. So if you remember my previous video, we have to define the multiplier for the ATR and also the period we are using. So ATR multiply, this one is going to be a double. This means we can use decimals. Our default, I'm going to do a 2 times multiplier. So this means by default, it's going to take our ATR, multiply by 2, and set our stop based on that number. So hit OK. And our ATR period, this one needs to be an integer, no decimals. Default, let's do 14 is usually the go-to. And set OK. So we got quite a little bit here, but let's review so we know what we're working with. We have our position size for both orders. We have our profit target for both orders, for long and for shorts. We have our break even target, and this is where our break even is going to get set at. Again, for long and short. The same thing for our trail stops. And we also have a way to define our ATR for our trail method. Now let's add our variables, and these are going to be hidden. The user is not going to be able to change these, but they're going to help us manage our trade. So first we need a variable to help us define where our stop order is going to be. So initial stop long, this needs to be a double so we can have a decimal as well. And default, it's not going to matter, it's going to change all the time. Now we need one for our short as well. Next up, I'm going to make a break even bool, and make sure you select the bool. And I'm going to set this at false for default. And this is just a true and false statement. I'll show why we need these later. For this example, I'm pretty much copying my previous videos for trail stop and for the break even. So if you haven't seen them, make sure to check them out. This video is just pretty much combining everything into one. We also need something that's going to store our target for the break even, because again, all these numbers are going to constantly change and it's not going to be the same every time. So I'm going to say break even target price store. And this is going to be a double because we might need decimals. Next, we need our variables for our ATR. So again, I'm going to be using an ATR bool, set a bool, and we make this false as default. We need an ATR target price store. This needs to be a double, okay. And if you remember from our previous video, we need a variable that's going to store our most current ATR price with the multiplier, and also a variable that's going to store where our ATR stop is actually going to be set at. So here we're set ATR current price. This is a double, and ATR stop set, also a double. So guys, I know that's a lot for right now, and to be honest, these variables you don't have to add right away when you're creating your own strategy. You would almost certainly add them as you need them and as you're adding more variables. But for the sake of the video, I'm adding them in now, or else this video would be like 6 hours long and nobody wants that. So now we're moving on. Hit next. All right, so now we are in our conditions and actions, and this is where the magic happens. This is where we create our strategy. So the first thing I like to do is make sure our current market position is market position flat. This just means you are in no other trades. You don't want your strategy to keep trying to re-enter and go in the opposite direction while you're already in another trade. Next up, I'm going to go to the group option down here. I'm going to add, go to MISC, bars and century is equals to MISC, then go to numeric value. I want to type in -1. Now I want to do the exact same thing. Go to MISC, bars and century, numeric value, and this one is a +1. Now this is just going to be an added extra security, so your strategy doesn't keep trying to re-enter on the same bar if your entry conditions happen to be true and it gets stopped out on the same bar. All right guys, now we are going to be using my reversal bar indicator. If you don't have it, make sure you download it on my website. It's completely free. So we're going to go to add, use the indicator, scroll down to the reversal TS, unselect the show social media, and we're going to be doing bars ago 2. And the reason we're doing this is because we are going to be entering on this candle right here. So that means we need to look at 1 candle, 2 candles, or 1 bar ago, 2 bars ago. So we're just saying 2 bars ago is when our reversal pattern happened. And we're going to plot this on chart. And if you remember from the previous video, in order to plot our reversal pattern, a bullish pattern needs a value of 1 and a bearish pattern needs a value of -1. Again, we're going to go through all of this. So once you select your numeric value, hit OK. And now we're adding our confirmation candle. And that's pretty simple. That's just saying the close of the previous bar, so bars 1, is greater than the open of bars ago 1. So basically just saying the bar number 1 is a green candle. Now that we have all our conditions to enter a bullish trade, we are going to set our actions. So we want to go to order management, enter long position. We have our quantity. You go to user input and you go position size 1. Now it's very important that we have our signal names here. So I'm going to say my entry long 1, and I'm going to do the same thing for our second position. User input, position size 2, my entry long 2. And now once we enter our position, I also want to define where our stop is going to be set at. So I want to set it at the low of this pivot or the low of the reversal bar. So there's a few ways we can do this. First, we can go to MISC, set initial stop long. This is going to be the variable that stores this number, and we are going to define this variable. And now there's a couple ways we can do this. We can either do the low by going to price and saying low number 2, or sorry, low number 3. And that is going to look at this candle's low. But what I find works even better, because there could be certain scenarios where this might not be the low and you just want the lowest point of that pivot. So you can also go to indicator, scroll down to where it says min. Your input series needs to be the low. Your Barsago will be 0. It's looking at the most current candle. However, your period that it's looking at, that's how many candles back all up to the current candle. So I want to look at period 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to select a period of 3. And what that's doing is it's looking at the last 3 candles, and it's going to get the absolute lowest point of those 3 candles. So I find this just handles it better in certain scenarios where your reversal might not actually be the lowest. So hit OK. And now if you remember from the previous videos, I'm going to set our bools to be false during this time. And this is just going to help ensure everything is handled properly. And we'll see as we go. So set break-even bool. Do not check this. And do the same thing for the ATR. Now, I'm also going to be adding prints, and this is going to ensure all of our variables are going to be printing the correct values. And this is very important if you're having some sort of problem where something is not getting set properly, your strategy is not acting the way it should. Having prints is going to help you diagnose those problems much easier. So I'll show you how I do it. I go to add, MISC, print, set, and for this example, I'm just going to set the initial stop. So for the first one, I always like to say what set I'm working on. Then initial stop long, add, you go to your user variable, initial stop long. And I also like to see the time this gets set at. That way I can go back and see exactly when something happened, and it'll help me figure out if there is a problem. So go to set, time, date series, hit OK. And now from here, I'm going to compile, and let's just run the strategy to see how it works. Okay, so now that that's done, go to your chart, strategies, go NinZaRenko strategy. And here you can see your position size, your targets, everything that we put in our user inputs. Let's just hit apply and make sure you enable it down here. It's kind of hard to see with the screen. My face is in the way. Okay, so let's scroll out. And you can see down here, we entered one order. Once we have our reversal pattern, we have one confirmation candle. And I'm actually going to do something. So while doing historical backtest, I'm going to go into the historical fill processing. And I'm going to set this to high. Back to enable. This is going to take a little bit longer now, but it's going to be a little bit more accurate. Okay, so from here, when we have our reversal pattern, we have one confirmation candle. We enter our trade, one long. We're just trying to see the value of our initial stop. So we have it set at 4419.5. Let's bring this up here, and we're looking at the low. It's 4419.5. So we haven't set any stops yet. We're just trying to make sure our value is correct. Now that we verified that, we can move on. Okay, so now that we have our entries done, we can move on to set number 2. So from here, I want to make sure we are in a long position. So strategy, current market position equals to long. I want to make sure our previous bools are both false. So break-even bool equals misc false, and our ATR bool is also equals to false. Now that we have that, we can set our targets and our stops. So go to your actions, order management, exit long position by a stop order. The first input here is your entry. So put the same thing that you put in for your entry order. So my entry long 1, quantity, make sure you select the correct position size. Signal name, this is going to give this its own signal name. So my stop long 1, and our stop price, it's going to be set at that stored value. So our initial stop long. So all this is doing is it's tying your stop order to your original entry. So once this gets hit, it's going to cancel out anything with this entry signal. And now we want to do the same thing for our second order. So order management, exit long by a stop order. So my entry long 2. And very, very important, make sure every letter matches with whether it's a capital or lowercase, and everything needs to match, or else you're going to get all sorts of problems. Quantity, user position size 2. Signal name, my stop long 2. And stop price, we are also going to set this user variable to the initial stop long. Once you verify it's okay, hit OK. And we are going to set our target price now. So order management, exit long position by a limit order. From entry signal, my entry long 1. Our limit price is going to be based on a certain amount of ticks from when we got filled. So strategy, average position size, ticks, and from here you can set target 1 long. Next, the quantity, remember position size has to be the same. Signal name, my target long 1. And guys, these signal names, you can name them whatever you want. Just make sure the entry signal, everything matches up. So hit OK, and the same thing for our second order. Okay, now that we have our stop orders and our target orders, we need to set when our break even and when our ATR trail are going to get set. So go to add, misc, let's do set break even target price store. So this is the variable that's storing our break even target. So set strategy, average position price, ticks, set user input, break even target long. And now we're doing the same thing for our ATR trail. misc, ATR target price store, set strategy, average position price, ticks, user input, trail target long. And now, just as we did on set 1 with our print, I'm going to set more prints to make sure our break even and our ATR targets are set properly. So add misc print message. So set to break even target, add user variable, break even target price store, add time date series, and same thing for the ATR. Okay, now that we have our set to, let's compile again and make sure everything is getting set properly. So we can see our initial stop got set properly. Our break even target got set to 4433.5. 433.5 is up here. That seems about right. Our ATR target is 4434.75. So that's somewhere up here. Seems about right. And also it hit our target here, which seems about right as well. Now, the only thing I'm seeing here is it's only entering one order instead of the 2 we had set. And this is because we need to set it for 2 orders. So usually when you're coding, this can be done inside the code to make it by default. With Strategy Builder, there isn't a way, or at least not a way I know of. So you have to set it manually. Just go into your parameters, scroll down to the order handling, and your entries per direction, set this to 2, hit apply, and OK. Now let's enable again and make sure everything is good. Okay, so now we can see entry long 1, entry long 2, my target long 1, and it never hit the second target. I don't think there was enough room to it, so it exit on close. But now at least we have both of our orders. Everything seems to be working pretty well. All right, so let's move on to set number 3. Now this is where we're going to start defining our break even. So again, this is getting taken from my previous video or other examples I've shown on the Discord. So let's just go to add, make sure our current market position is equals to long. So we want to ensure we are in a trade. Now we want to say when the most current price, so close 0, is greater to or equal to our break-even target price store. And we also want to make sure our break-even bool is false, as well as our ATR bool. And we'll see why this is important later. It's just basically to make sure this doesn't get triggered again. So if all of these conditions are true, then it's going to set our break-even bool to true. And now with that, we're moving to set number 4. And with set number 4, we're actually going to set our orders to our break-even. First of all, always make sure you are in a trade. So current market position is long. And now you want to make sure your break-even bool is equals to true. So again, from set number 3, once these are true, it sets this to true. And now it's going to activate this. And in order for these to not get mixed up, we want to make sure our ATR bool, that one needs to be set at false. So this way you won't have your ATR and your break even interfering with each other. So once you have that, let's set our stop order to a break even. So order management, exit long by a stop order. We're using the same signal. So my entry long 1. Make sure, again, these match up. These could create problems if they don't. Your quantity is your position size. Signal name, my stop long 1. Again, the same as your previous stop. That way it updates it to this price. So the stop price for a break even is fairly simple. It's just strategy, average position size. Now from here, you could also add your offsets. So if you want to add 1 or 2 ticks in either direction, you can do that. Just to keep the video short, I'm just going to keep it at break-even price. So we have that. And now we're doing that for our second order as well. Order management, exit long by a stop order. My entry long 2. Quantity is position size 2. My stop long 2. And same thing, average position price. Very important. This is where a lot of people end up getting mixed up and they say, oh, my target orders disappeared. Like, I don't know what's happening. With Strategy Builder, you can't set an exit type order and have it stay on the chart forever. You need to keep basically resubmitting it every time. So here we also have to re-add our target orders. So the same thing from set number 2. We're just pretty much adding them over here now. So to save time, we can copy, paste, and then copy our exit long order and paste it over here as well. And just like I was preaching 2 seconds ago, I already found a problem with our number 2. I forgot to change the my entry long. Make sure you change this to my entry long 2, and make sure you change the one on your set number 2 as well. Okay, let's hit compile and see if our break even works. And here you can see it actually sets our target long too. It wasn't showing up before because I hadn't messed up. Again, make sure you double check all of your signal names. Okay, so for some reason it's not re-entering. Let's go back to our entry condition. That's good, good. Let's go up here. And so for our bar sense entry, it needs to be greater than 1, not equals to 1. So bar sense entry is equals to -1. That is needed for your first entry. And then bar sense entry execution is greater than 1. This is for the remaining after your first. So now that we changed that, hit compile again and let's test it out. And hit enable. And there we go. Okay, so now we have all the rest of our entries. It hit our first target up here, and then we got stopped break even on our remaining position. So that tells me our targets work and our break even works. So now we can move on to setting our trail stop. All right, guys, let's move on to set number 5. And this is going to be the start of our ATR trail. Again, we have to make sure we are in a long trade. So current market position equals to long. Now we want to make sure the current price, so close 0, is greater or equal to our ATR target price. So now we're going to add another variable to make sure once our ATR trail stop gets activated, we don't want it to go under our break-even price. So how we do that is we make sure our ATR stop set, this is the actual price of our ATR trail. We want to make sure that is greater than our average position price. And now at this point, we also want to make sure our ATR bool is still in the false position. That way, once this gets activated once, it's not going to keep trying to recalculate. So ATR bool is equals to false. Once these conditions are true, then we're going to set our ATR bool to true. And now we are going to also set our break-even bool and leave this unselected to make it false. And that's just going to ensure that our price doesn't go back and get set to our break-even again. Okay, let's go set number 6. So now with this one, we are going to constantly keep updating our ATR price. So again, make sure we are in a long position, long. And because this is going to be literally the only condition, it's going to keep recalculating this anytime there's a price change. And we just don't need that much data. So what we can do is go to MISC, if is first tick of bar equals true. And what this is going to do is it's just going to show this value once per bar, only once the bar opens. And what we want to do in our action here is go to MISC. We are going to set our ATR current price. That price is going to be based on obviously our ATR. So scroll to ATR. Bars ago, we can leave that at 0. Plot on chart. If you want to see it, you can do this. If you don't want it to take up space in your chart, which I'm not going to do that for this one, just leave it like that. Your period is going to be your user input, ATR period. So this way the user can define it to whatever they want. And now we're going to also set your offset. We're going to do our multiplier. So set user input and ATR multiply. So hit OK, OK. And just to make sure we are getting the correct values here, let's add another print. So MISC print message set 6 ATR current price add user variable, ATR current price, and we want to see the time. Okay, now that we have that, set number 7. And in this set, we're going to take the values from set number 6 and we're going to add them to the current price to make sure we have our correct trail stop. So again, as always, make sure we are in a trade. So make sure we are in a long position. And now we want to make sure our trail stop is always moving up. So as the price goes up, so does our trail stop. And in the case the price starts coming down, we don't want our trail stop to also go down with it, because that would just defeat the whole purpose of the trail stop. So how we do that is we say the most current price, so the close 0, minus our user variable, which is our ATR current price. So the most recent price minus what our ATR is. So it needs to be greater than our previous ATR stop. So this way it always ensures that our most recent ATR trail is going to be higher than the previous ATR. Now, if you ever got one of these messages, they are because the stop got moved to the opposite side of our current price, which is a big no-no for NinjaTrader. So I never added these to the previous examples. They're an extra little protection to make sure these errors don't happen. What we're doing here, our close minus the ATR current price. So we want to make sure this is less than the most current bid, and we are going to copy and paste this down here. And also we want to make sure it is less than the most current ask. And again, this is just an added little protection to make sure our stop never gets set to the opposite side of the market. So once all these conditions are true, now we can set where our actual stop order is going to be set at for our ATR trail. So set ATR stop set is going to be at the price, most current price, close 0, minus our user variable, our ATR current price. And again, to make sure we have the correct values, let's add another print. So misc print set 7, ATR stop set, user variable, ATR stop set, add, and we set our time as well. Hit OK. Now that we have all of that done, let's set our actual ATR trail. So let's make set number 8. And once again, we are making sure our current market position is long. Here, we want to make sure our break-even bool, we need to make sure that is false. And we want to make sure our trail stop bool, or ATR bool, is indeed true. And now we can set our orders. So order management, exit long by a stop order, my entry long 1, make sure the capitals are placed properly, quantity, user input, position size, my stop long 1, and our ATR stop is our ATR stop set. So that is this value from set number 7. And now we do that for our second order as well. My entry long 2, user input, position size 2, signal name, my stop long 2, and our stop price, again, ATR stop set. And just like we did on set number 2 and set number 4, we have to keep resubmitting our exit long limit because these conditions are no longer true from set number 4. So now set number 8 conditions are true, so we add them here. And we can just copy, paste, copy, and paste. Now, before we run this, I want to add one last little thing. I need to make sure once we exit all of our positions that all of our bools or booleans get set back to false. So how we do that is strategy current market position is equals to flat. So once we're out of all our trades, we are just going to set our break-even bool, leave it unchecked, and also our ATR bool, leave this unchecked, and we are back to false. And actually, one last thing, and this is just from experience, especially around market opens where there's some sort of a gap, it could create a scenario where your stop might not get triggered while on these historical trades. Just to prevent that scenario while backtesting, I also like to make another set. And if your position is long and the current price, so close zero, is less or equal to your initial stop long, then we're going to set this sort of safety exit order. This way, if for whatever reason your stop never got set, this is just going to make sure once the price is below that stored value, it's going to exit out of your current position. It shouldn't be needed, but it's there just as a safety precaution. Let's go to add order management. This one is just going to be exit a long position. From entry signal, my entry long 1, default quantity, user input, position 1, my safety long 1. And we'll do the same for our second order as well. Okay, now that we have all of our sets done for just the long position, let's hit compile and see how it looks on the chart. Disable and re-enable. Here we can see it is no longer at break even. So it hit our first target and it started trailing up and it stopped us out right here. This one we got stopped out. Same thing, we got stopped out, break even. Everything seems to be working. All right, so let's go to the most recent trade, which is this one. Our trade got triggered in at 2:53 p.m. So let's look at set 1, which is right here. Our initial stop is at 4450.5. So we look at the low of this pivot, 4450.5. We are good. So now, once that gets triggered, we move on to set 2. Set 2, we are setting our break even and we are setting our ATR target. Our break even 4464.5 and 4465.75 for the trail. Those seem about right. That's up here somewhere. Just for the sake of length, I'm gonna say that's good. Now we then set a print again until set number 6, which is just looking at the most recent ATR, and it's going to add our multiplier. So set number 6 at 254. So I guess as soon as this one got triggered, it's at 9.2. So that means our ATR with no multiplier should have been at 4.1 something. So those all seem right. So now we are looking for set number 7. So set number 7 doesn't get triggered until 3:43 when all the conditions are met, and it's at 4:57. So once our price with the trail stop is higher than our break-even price, then it starts trailing our stop up until eventually we get stopped out. Now, this is usually where I cut off the video, but I always get requested how to do the shorts as well. And it's very simple. We're just going to take all of these and pretty much make them in the opposite direction. So I'm going to show it in this video just so you guys can see how I do it. So basically, set 1, duplicate the tab. And now we're going to do the complete opposite for everything. So our reversal, we want a bearish pattern now. So that is a value of -1 for this indicator. And now we want a red candle because we are going short. So now we want our close to be under our open. And now we are going to enter a short position. So same position size. And we call this one my entry short 1. Same thing with the position number 2. Enter short, position size 2. my entry short 2. And now for your stop, we are going to do the set initial stop short. And now instead of using the minimum indicator, we can use the max indicator. Our input series, change this to the high. Bars ago, we're looking at 0, but we are looking at a period of 3. And hit OK. So our break-even bool, our ATR bool, those can stay the same. And our print, we are going to change this to short and set 11. Make sure you change your initial stop to the short as well. Hit OK. And that looks good. Now let's do tab number 2. So here we are making sure instead of being in a long position, we are in a short position. Your bulls can stay the same, and we have to change all of our stop and profit orders. So exit short by a stop order, my entry short 1. Don't forget the capitals if you have them in your own strategy. Position size 1, my stop short 1, and initial stop short. Same thing for your limit orders. Change this to exit short position by a limit order. My entry short 1. Limit price is going to be your average position price, ticks. Your user input, remember to change this to your short target, because this would be a negative value that we need. Quantity, user input, position size 1, my target short 1. Now we also have to change our break even and our trail stop targets. So let's click on this one, let's set it, and we can just set this to break even target short. Again, because we need that negative value for the shorts. And same thing with our trail stop. And we change that. Now I'm just going to update our prints. So set 12, break even target, and everything else is okay. Break even target, ATR price store, those are okay because we are reusing the storage of those values. Now we are going to duplicate number 3, make sure once again that we are in a short position. So now instead of our price being above the break-even target price, we want to make sure is less or equal to, and the rest can stay the same. Set number 4, once again make sure you're short, and here we have to change all of our exit longs once again to exit short. Now for the limits, we can just delete those, go back to set number 2, and just copy, paste, set number 2, copy, and paste. And that's it for set number 4 or 14. So duplicate number 5. I know I don't have to say it at this point, but just make sure it's short. Default, make sure it is less than or equal to our ATR target. And we want to make sure our new ATR trailing is less than our break-even price. That way it doesn't go back up to break-even. Bulls can stay the same. So now number 6, you know what I'm gonna say. It's first tick of bar, okay. ATR price, this one can stay the same because it's just multiplying the ATR, so this is going to be the same whether you're short or long. Just the print, I'm going to update this to set number 16. Okay, almost there, guys. Number 7, again, make sure we are short, and here we gotta do the opposite of all of these. So instead of minus, we are doing plus because our stop is above the price. And instead of needing to be greater than, it needs to be less than. And we're doing that with all of them. So plus, greater, plus, greater. This is where our stop price is actually going to be set at as we're trailing. Gotta make sure we change this to a plus. And just update the print so we know which one is actually printing. Okay, set number 8. Almost there. Short. Bulls are okay. So now exit long, or now exit short by a stop order. My entry short 1. User input, position size. My stop short 1. Stop price is now going to be your ATR stop set, as it was for the longs. Okay, for your limit orders, again, let's just do a copy, paste, copy, and paste. Because those are, again, the same thing as before. Now, set number 9, position flat. Actually, we don't have to duplicate this one, but it's not going to harm anything. So just to keep both sides even, I'm just going to keep it in there. So set 20. Make sure we are short. And if the price is greater or equal to your initial stop short, we are just going to exit a short position. Again, guys, this is just your safety. You don't really actually need this, but it's good to have just in case. User input, position 1, my safety short 1. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much it. Let's hit compile here and we'll test it out. Okay, so make sure you enable it. So here we have our entry, targets, get stopped out, okay. Here we have our short entry. Seems like we got stopped out break even, okay. No problem. Again, target, long seem to be okay, shorts are okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. Here's our short, so we entered and stopped out. Why is that a stop out? Okay, so here we should not be getting stopped out as we're going down. This should be at least a target. So this is telling me something is wrong with our code. So let's figure out what is happening. So the first thing I like to do is get the timestamp on when we entered, when we exited this trade. So first, let's go to 157.15 on July 7th. Go down here, Control F to find 157.15. And that takes us right to where we entered this trade. Our initial stop short was the high of this candle, so it should be 4476. Yeah, that's good. Then we go set 12. Our break even targets are 462 and ATR 461. Those seem about right. So let's go down. So set 13. Okay, set 14. Don't really have anything typed out here, so I might have to make some more prints just to see what is going on during this time. So I'm going to go to set 14. I'm going to add order misc print message set 14, and this is just average price. And this one, because it's our break even, I just want to make sure it's reading our average price correctly. And same time, okay. And for set 18, I'm going to add another print, and I'm going to make our ATR stop just to see if it's actually reading our ATR stop properly, if it gets to this. So here, print, misprint, so set 18, ATR stop, user variable, ATR stop set, and we are adding the time. Okay, set 19. Let's hit compile and see if we can figure out where our problem is. Disable, re-enable. And we can just jump right to this as well. So we have our set 11, which is right here, our set 12. So it sets our initial stops and our initial targets. Next, we don't have a print for that. We have a print for this one, but this doesn't get triggered until our break-even target of 4462. So 4462, let's draw a line, which is right here. So right around here is when our break-even should be set, which should be around 2:39, 2:44 p.m. So set 14, 2:45. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2:44:04 p.m. Then we have our set 14, which our average price 4667.25. So our break-even seems to be working correctly. Next, let's go to set 16. For set 16, this is just keeping track of the ATR with the multiplier. So this is constantly going to keep updating. So that's why we see set 16 all the time. So 835, 8.32, that's okay. Set 17, we are looking for our ATR stop set. So one of the conditions for set 17 is our current price plus the ATR price from set 16 needs to be less than our current ATR stop set. Set 17, I'm not seeing printing, but I do see set 18 printed. So our ATR stop was set at 439.86. So right now, I think we found the problem here. Right now, our ATR stop is getting set all the way down here at 439, which is obviously way under our price, so it's stopping out immediately. So something is not right here. We need to figure out why our set 17 is not updating before setting set 18. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy our ATR stop set and I'm going to set it over here. As soon as we enter a trade, I want to see what our ATR stop set price is at. Hit OK. So we're going to disable, re-enable again, and let's go back to our timestamp. So set 11, you can see right away before anything happens, before we actually even set our ATR in these sets over here, right here at 157, it's setting our ATR stop at 4439. And I am willing to bet that is because we never reset our ATR stop. So I'm going to add a few more things to reset our ATR. So let's go back all the way to set number 1, and I'm going to add and go to MISC, and we are going to go to set ATR stop set. And what I'm going to do here is set this at 0. So this means when I enter a long trade, right away before it hits any targets, before it moves anything, this is going to get set at 0 and reset itself. And that is because in set 7, one of our conditions is when the current price minus our ATR needs to be greater than the current stop set, which would be at 0, so that would be true. For the shorts, it's going to be a little bit of the opposite. I'm going to reset it, but for a much higher number. So go to MISC, set ATR stop. So that means as soon as I enter a short trade, I want my ATR to be really high. That means when it gets to step 17, my current price plus ATR is less than the current ATR stop. If that is a handful, all we're trying to do is make sure as soon as we enter a trade that step 17, this option right here, is going to be true. Before, it was still storing the old values, so it's getting mixed up. So let's just hit compile and see if this fixes our problem. Disable and re-enable, and hopefully it should set our targets. There we go. So now instead of getting stopped out, we have our target 1 and our target 2. And everything seems to be too far. Everything else seems to be working. My target, stop. Let's hit play and see this in action.
Order filled.
So here we entered short. So you can see our stop got set at the top.
Order filled.
Now we got stopped out, entered long. We have both our targets. Now it sets to break even. Let's see if we see a trail.
Order.
And
Order
there you could see it was trailing
Order
up. I have it
failed.
at max just so we can get through this a little
Order
quicker.
canceled.
It's already a pretty long video.
Order filled. Order cancelled. Order filled.
And
Order cancelled.
there you can see
Order
it keeps
filled.
trailing down.
Order cancelled. Order filled.
So guys, that's pretty much how this works. Again, this is just an example. I don't actually recommend running and risking real money with this strategy. This is just meant as an example on how to use Strategy Builder. You can download this on my website or on the Discord. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below or just message me. But that's it for this one, guys. Take care. Enjoy.